Hi, my name is Mary Beth Bossberg, and this is my presentation on the elephant toothpaste interactive presentation. For this experiment, the ingredients that we needed was hydrogen peroxide, warm water, yeast, and dish soap. The food coloring is more just to add a color to it. You don't necessarily need the food coloring, it's just more or less to make it kind of fun. Ultimately, what's going to happen is the hydrogen peroxide and the yeast are going to interact with one another, and it's going to cause a reaction that I'm going to discuss in later slides. So what is occurring during this elephant toothpaste reaction? Ultimately, a chemical reaction is occurring between the hydrogen peroxide and the yeast. The yeast and water solution mixture is going to cause the hydrogen peroxide to break down into hydrogen and oxygen. This is due to the yeast mixture being a catalyst, and it will decompose that hydrogen peroxide. And ultimately, when this reaction occurs, it is an exothermic reaction, and that means that what is happening is the red foam that you can see in the picture on the right is emitting a heat. It is releasing heat into the air, so that foam is actually hot to the touch, and this is why this reaction is a exothermic reaction. And I didn't have overspill because I did not use a lot of hydrogen peroxide, and the interaction was in a wider tube mason jar, so it only raised to the lid of the mason jar. But ultimately, you can do some stuff to cause the reaction to occur quicker, be more exaggerated, which I will discuss on the next slide. But ultimately, again, this reaction is a breakdown of the hydrogen peroxide into oxygen and hydrogen, and that release is causing this foam to create and this exothermic reaction to develop. Moving into what might change this reaction, if you were to increase the amount of hydrogen peroxide you use in the solution, it will increase the speed at which the foam is developed, as well as how intense the reaction actually is. So the more hydrogen peroxide you have, the more intense the reaction is going to be. And that's because the yeast, and then if you were to use potassium iodine, that's another thing you could use in this experiment. If you were to use either of those and you combine them, that potassium iodine or the yeast will cause that breakdown of the hydrogen peroxide to happen more quickly, and it will cause the foam to explode a little bit more. If you added just a little bit, if you added a lot more hydrogen peroxide, it would actually explode a lot. So that is my presentation on what is occurring during this elephant toothpaste interactive module. Thank you.